Hello. It's me, Marty D. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hi, welcome to the Marty YouTube channel. I forgot my fucking intro, but you know what? It is what it is at this point. I just woke up from a nap and I was like, hey, I have to film this video now because it's needed. Well, it's not needed, but I feel like doing it anyway. So this video will be about my Elite Chris Season 7 experience. Was it all it was hyped up to be? Did I love it? Did I hate it? What do I regret and what don't I regret? So let's get started. So let's start at the beginning. So applications came out like May or something, and I wanted to apply because that's what I felt like doing. Like all my friends were doing it, so I wanted to do it. It sounds like you're trying to jewel or something, but don't do it. It's not good for you. But it's the same thing with the Elite Chris application. It's not good for you. But the questions were, there were cliche questions. You could see what I answered on the Wikia page. You know, turn off your ad blocker. And I did great in that, and he asked me back for an interview. And I answered that great with my charisma or whatever, and I got asked to do the show. Hella people were already telling me, hey, I can't wait to see you on Elite Chris Season 7. And I was like, cool, whatever. I'm not there, but you know, hey, whatever. And I should have read the non-disclosure agreement. That was something I did not do. I wish I did it, because I would have known what I got myself into, but I didn't. I just was fucking crazy and was like, hi, I'm on the show. Marty D, signature, boom, and done. So the show was actually filmed the day after a really important event that I just went to the night before. So I had to get back from that event, then play the next day. So I was already tired and drained because I didn't go to sleep until 2 a.m. that morning, and I had to turn around and play in a season at 10 o'clock that morning. So I only got 8 hours of sleep. I didn't even get 8 hours of sleep because I woke up at 6 o'clock because I had to go and make a money order with my people, with my friend, because she needed help. And I had to go to the store, get groceries, and all this other stuff. I have a life. I had shit I had to do. But the actual filming of the show, it was fine. The actual recording of the show, it was fine. I heard that it was 12 plus hours. Only we was there was for 5. And there was a couple things that didn't get seen that were cut from the show. All my confessionals are long as fuck. I guess they only took out like the juiciest bits, which I'm perfectly fine with. But some of the things that they aired, I did not want aired. Like that whole confessional that I made was, I was like, I'm better than this, I usually win. That was just taken out of context. I was really just exhausted and kept losing. And it was also about my internet lagging out so much. And I was like, I'm better than this internet. I'm better than this storm. It's fucking ridiculous. So that's what that confession was about. And the whole killer thing was happening while the show was airing. I told Chris about the killer leaks during the show. So production pulled me into another call. It was either right after I was eliminated or before I went to Vindicator's Key. And they were like, and I was like, hey, I got a message from a person, and they told me, hey, I know you're on Elite Chris, and I hope you go well. Tell me about the show once you're done. And I was like, cool. I'm not on the show. I'm at the mall. And they did not believe me, but I cannot just say, hey, I'm on Elite Chris. Root for me, sis. And I didn't, because then I would be breaching my non-disclosure agreement, which I wish I didn't sign. But you know, I wasn't gonna leak the show anyway. I was there for 5 hours, stoned on ibuprofen because Corke was screaming at me, and then Garrett, fucking, whatever happened with that. That's a whole nother thing. I'm gonna talk about that soon. But they did not do anything about that at that moment in the show. If it was that big of a deal, they should have pulled Killer aside and told him to stop while the show, right after that, if it was so important. But since they wanted to push this narrative of I don't like Killer, because Killer had already blackmailed his way onto the show. With what he was blackmailing with, I don't know. But what I do know is that he wasn't even supposed to be on the show. He blackmailed his way onto the show. Probably in season 6 or something, he said he was going to leak the fucking footage because he filmed for Chris for like 5 seasons before that. And since this was like Chris's last season, I guess Killer wanted to make his big stand and was like, hey, I'm gonna leak the show if you don't put me on. And he leaked the show anyway, like a dumbass. But hey, whatever. That's a whole nother situation. There's parts to this. But a couple confessionals got cut out. Can't remember exactly what confessionals got cut out. But I think I made like one confession while I was on Green Tribe, and I was like, I'm not really talking to anybody. And I made a confessional about Liz on Vindicator's Key, which I would have told you more about during the reunion. I got cut off. So during Vindicator's Key, Liz came out and everyone was giving her warm hugs and welcomes and being fake. So I was like, really? Are you kidding me? I got fucking attacked as soon as I got onto that damn island. You telling me this bitch is gonna get praised for walking through the door like she's just the second coming of God or something? And I made a whole confessional about it. Didn't get aired. Instead, they wanted to give Quirkager more content. Woo. But hey, whatever. I made a lot of confessionals about how my game was going. I guess Chris just decided not to tear any of those, but instead to push this Marty hates fucking Killer narrative. Which, no, I didn't hate Killer. I did not hate Killer. Those, can't say. But I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna get through the rest of the video first. But, shit, what the fuck was I talking about? Oh yeah, the Killer thing. So, Killer, I told, after the show was filmed, not even a day after the show was filmed, the cast list was already spread out. The boot order was spread out too, I think. And all the cast was just going crazy. We were trying to figure out who leaked it, who didn't leak it. I, being Detective Marty, went and I asked hella people. I got hella connections. I would find a lead and then they would give me another lead just for that lead to be a dead end. So I'll go back to that person and get another lead. It would just be a whole clusterfuck orgy of just information that was leading me nowhere until Killer came to me himself and was like, I have the original screenshots of the first person I leaked to, and then they spread it, and he was basically the root canal of all the problems. And I sent that to Chris, like the dumbass I was. Well, you know, I was trying to do it as justice, but I think they already had the information they were looking for anyway. But I just basically confirmed to them, Killer leaked the show. And because of that, I got hella confessionals. But the downside of that was I was the one who had to portray that I just did not like Killer in the slightest. All of my Killer confessionals, I think there were like 3 of them. All of those confessionals were partially scripted and requested by production. I did not make any confessionals about Killer that would basically cause his character to be viewed negatively by the fan base. I did not make those while I was on the show. I made those after the show, and I think I made those around September or October. So that was 3 to 4 months after the show had concluded for its original filming date. And when I got asked to do those confessionals, I gladly did them because I was still pissed at Killer. Killer was not responding to my messages. Me and Killer had already fell out from our friendship in the first place, so I was ready to just manhandle Killer in these confessionals. But still in those confessionals, I would include parts about how my personal game was going. They constantly would never air how my game was going until the episode I got eliminated. Or I think the episode before I got eliminated. Because they wanted to push the narrative that Marty does not like Killer. I don't want the fans to like Killer. I'm going to let Marty do it. And I did it like the dumbass. And I've apologized to Killer behind closed doors. We've accepted each other's apologies. Things went great. Then I started to regret the confessional because I did not want what I said to skew anybody's views of Killer. I want people's views of Killer to be seen because of how Killer acted, not because of how I said Killer acted. And I only insinuated the negative parts of his game. They didn't include the parts where I said I think Killer is a good player and all this other nice things that I said about Killer. Because at the end of the day, Killer was the only person on that cast who was rooting for me to come back from the Redemption Challenge, besides Garrett, who was rooting sarcastically, I think. And Killer was the only person who was positively rooting for me until the end, where hella people were like, oh, Marty's gonna win, and then Corkhager won. So while the show was being edited and broadcasted, I fell into like this deep hole of like depression. And as soon as like episode 5 aired, or my elimination aired, no, it wasn't even then, it was when the Killer confessionals started to get aired. I would stay up countless nights thinking about what I said, how could I revise what I said to make me seem like less of an asshole, to make Killer seem like less of a bad person, and how I could try and justify Chris's decisions to even ask me to do that. Because when I was giving him information, I did not think that he was going to manipulate it and make it skew itself into the fact that I had to give him what he wanted to push his narrative that Killer is a bad person. Because I personally did not think Killer was a bad person. Everyone else on the cast did. They could have easily have asked someone like Ben, who was already struggling for screen time, to make these confessionals about Killer, and the season would have went by better. I feel I would have had less confessionals, but I'm fine with that as long as I'm not out here publicly slandering a person's character in a negative light. That I didn't even think that in that way. I was asked to make those confessionals, and when I would make a confessional and it wasn't done right, it would be like, hey, refilm this, but insinuate the fact that you don't like Killer, insinuate the fact that he did me wrong. Killer did not do me wrong, so I don't see why I had to say those things. Someone like Hannah could have said those things. Someone like Trevor could have said those things. Literally anybody else on that cast could have said those things, but he chose me specifically to say those things so he could try to ruin my character as well. And it didn't really catch on in the fan base, so I left the community for several months. And as soon as like the Garrett versus Marty freak out aired, as soon as that aired, I could not cry myself to sleep last night, because those words would just echo in my head. You're fake white, you're fake white. Because I already get a lot of shit for that, because I'm not as black in my community. Like, I'm not seen as this. I'm supposed to, in their eyes, I'm supposed to act more like Garrett. I'm not supposed to act like myself. I try to pronunciate my words correctly. I try to make complete sentences. I try not to use incorrect grammar. Sometimes I do, and that's perfectly fine. But I'm supposed to be like this ghetto creature that all these people want me to be. And I think even Chris wanted me to be that. I think I was casted to be a second Garrett, a replacement Garrett in case Garrett failed. And Garrett did not fail. Garrett did better than I did. And after that fight aired, I got into another fight with Corkhager. That fight didn't really personally strain itself on me as much as the Garrett fight did, because Garrett was saying a lot of shit that I did not want to hear. And then during the Garrett fight, it took me a couple times rewatching it to realize that Chris wasn't laughing at because I basically exposed my whole team. He was laughing at me. He was laughing at my humiliation. He was not laughing because of what I said was actually truthful. Because what I said was the truth. They all dogged me out, and they're still dogging me out. They dogged me out in the Elite Chris Season 7 Discord server, and they dogged me out in the Reunion server, where people like Knife would say shit like, Marty, you didn't even watch the show for 5 months. You don't have an opinion on the Killer situation. But that's a whole nother story in of itself. But I'll get to that in just a few moments. So after my elimination, for about 3-4 months, I was physically weak, physically ill, mentally ill, Some days I would not even eat. I wouldn't talk. Like, that show effed me up psychologically. That show effed me up physically. I gained so much weight because of the words that were said on the show. And I thought I made friendships on that show because after the show ended, I talked to Hannah and Liz for about 2 hours of just about how the game was going and how the game went with them. And I thought that, you know, things were great, things were fine, but I guess they weren't because they turned around and attacked me about the killer situation. And I don't want to say attack because attacking is a bad word, but they were very argumentative on their stance with me on the killer situation. So this happened right before the reunion, and I got my invite to the reunion server, and I asked, hey, everyone's here besides Killer. What's going on with Killer? Why isn't he here? Because in the Elite Chris Season 7 server, I added Killer, and I said, I can't wait to see you at the reunion, smiley face. Because I was going to, you know, rat him out for what he did. But I did not know that he was not going to be there. So I said that, and several faces appeared, like Knife, Trevor, several members of production. They were all arguing with me over the killer situation, and it basically boiled down to they didn't want the killer situation taking over the spotlight of the show. They wanted the reunion to be a positive ceremony. They wanted the reunion to be a positive time to reflect on what good the show did for everyone. And I can fully understand that. But I don't understand, even though Killer did what he did. I'm not saying what he did was right. But he should still be offered the opportunity to even leave a message, to even write a statement on why what he did was wrong and how his story could conclude. And when I voiced my opinions, they tried to relate that to a sexual predator that was on the show who went to prison, I think, and was not allowed to come to their reunion. But a sexual predator and an online Survivor show where someone leaked the show and someone sexually predated on women, they can't be equated to each other. It's illogical. But when I was like, I feel like the sexual predator should be able to voice his statement. He should at least be able to give a statement. They all just looked at me like I was mentally ill or whatever, which I was, but I'm not now, and proceeded to laugh at me. But showing up to that reunion was the hardest thing I think I've had to do in relations to my Minecraft game show career, because minutes before the reunion started, I could not breathe. Like, my heart was pounding out of my chest. I had to leave the call abruptly because they were just saying so many, like, slick things about Killer, but you guys didn't want the reunion to be about Killer, but you're making it about Killer by saying these slick little jokes about, oh, an idol nullified Killer's jury votes and all this other stuff. And I couldn't defend Killer because when I tried, because I don't care if you're in the right or the wrong, if you're not there to protect yourself, I'm going to come at you. And they just attacked me. Every single time I even voiced an opinion, they would just attack me. And I keep saying the word attack, but I cannot think of a synonym that would express my concerns as much as the word attack does. I don't want anybody watching this video to go attack anybody that I state in this video, because I'm only going to state about 1 or 2 more faces. And every single time I said something, they would just attack me. That's what I'm going to say. The reunion itself, I didn't speak much unless I was asked to speak. And I understand that in the reunion, I was just tired that night. It was midnight, and I usually go to sleep at around 10:30. So I was already mentally fucked because I had to stay up upwards to 2 to 3 hours just to film a reunion with people who I'm just going to assume don't like me. And that was not a good look. at all. So, reunion starts and everything goes fine. But before the reunion started, Chris had to personally call me out in the call and say, Killer will not be here because Hope leaked her season and she was not allowed to come. Do you understand? And I said, you know what? Yes, I understand. Because I wasn't in the mood to fight with Killer. Not with Killer, with Chris. All my questions, or majority of my questions, majority of everything on the show, if it was supposed to be a positive experience, everybody else got positive questions besides maybe Asher. And like the first question, where the question was just basically given about Killer. Not Killer, by Chris. And my questions were, are you friends with Garrett? And another question about Garrett. And I'm like, I thought this was supposed to be a positive reliving of the show. I thought this was supposed to be a positive reunion. But I guess you want me to give you some type of like emotion or some type of effort and to like try to drag Garrett through the mud. And I was like, me and Garrett are not friends. If Garrett wants to give it another try, I'm down. And I guess he didn't like that because he didn't really address me positively again for the rest of the reunion. Someone could say Marty was Jesus on wheels, and he would be like, I think Corkhager is. Like, very Victoria Justice. I think we're all singers. And I'm like, or do you just not want me to be the singer? I didn't get that many questions in regards to myself. I think I got maybe 2. One of them was, well, are you a Republican or something? And I can't remember the other one to save my life. But Garrett's apology, I do think that it came from the right place. But if it was that needed, it took him 8 months. He could have just DM'd me or added me on the server. I did have him blocked, so I will take my responsibility for that one. But, you know, it took you 8 months. I accept the apology. Probably wondering why I called out Corkhager, but, no, it was just a joke on my end. Because he apologized to me in September. So I just wanted to get some screen time. Oh. But now here's to address the big elephant in the room that I wanted to address the most. Trevor. Is that his name? Bringle boy. So Mr. Bringle decided that it would be to his destiny to call me out in the stream. And to also call me out in the reunion server. He called me out about basically the same thing. You did not watch the show for 5 months. Why are you even talking? And I was like, I only care about me. I don't care about the rest of you. I mean, none of them texted me. I didn't text any of them. So that should give you the right outlook. Even if I said anything about Killer, he was just like, you didn't watch the show for 5 months. Shut up. You didn't watch the show. You didn't care about the show. Blah, 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 blah. And that's the truth. I didn't care about the show. I didn't want to watch the show. I wasn't in it. No one was talking about me. Was my name mentioned? Somebody told me something about Elite Chris. The first thing I would ask was, is it about me? Because if it's about anybody else, I could care less. None of them are my friends. I mean, Garrett's my friend, but if I cared about everything Garrett did, I would be up all night. Like, no, that's dumb. But he called me out in the stream. You can look it up if you want to. It's like 52 minutes in or something. And he was like, Marty, why are you even speaking? And he was like, you didn't watch the show for 5 months. Your placement matches that really well. And I was like, placement? And that's all you can bring up is my placement. You don't know who I am. If we have beef, we can squash it. And as soon as I said if we have beef, we can squash it, the dude just went as quiet as a mouse. Like, why are you talking? Is Chris making you talk? Like, I don't know. Every single time I said something, Chris would have something snarky or smirky to say. Someone could be literally in there sexually profiling me. He would say LMAO. Like, I did not understand why Chris wants to just make me seem like I'm just this bad person, when if anything, Both of us are neutral. You want to paint this narrative that I don't like Killer, but in actuality, you should have just used your voice and stated that you don't like Killer because I don't like Killer. What's the tea? What's the deal? I don't understand. But Trevor, this is your last chance. This is the last chance I'm giving you. If you watch this video, please, if you have beef with me, we can squash it in DMs. If anybody else from that cast or production has beef with me, we can squash it in DMs. If you have any type of issue with the way I talk to the way I walk, address it in DMs, because I don't want to have to make another public video on somebody, because I can really go ham, and I don't want to do that. So, you know, fuck those scripted confessionals. This is not following a script. And, you know, to Trevor or anybody else, if you have beef with me, let's cook it. I don't like rare. I don't like rare food. I like my shit well done. Overdone. Burn that shit. Like we're gonna burn this beef. Because I'm not about to walk around this earth a miserable hermit like I did for 5 months. It's not gonna happen. So, this is my final message to that cast. Some of you, the ones who did not address me in the slightest, you are great. You're amazing. I wish you all the best of luck. Asher, you looked good in that prom outfit. Boom. Trevor, Knife, and I think that's it. Or whoever attacked me about the Killer situation, production included. If you want to talk about it, DM me. If not, I'll just make a whole nother video. It doesn't really bother me. Don't really bother me. Just keep my name out your mouth. And if you have problems with Killer, address them with Killer. This is Marty. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be responding to comments if they pertain to me. And yeah, bye.